Hey guys, my dad just started the lawnmower, so now I don't know how hearing's going to be. um, I wanted to give a quick talk, I guess that's what you'd call this, about trusting yourself. Just really quick, because I was reading up on some things, and, no, not up on some things, there were some things that happened in the worldwide news of things that I actually read, and, no, it's legit news, it's just, not some things that most people would be watching on the news or reading in the news. And I'm not going to say what it is. I just want to say that there's a lot more about people not trusting themselves to get through certain problems, or kind of in the fact, like, I don't know how many people that will ever read this, let alone how many people out of that will actually act. But when you act, you need to trust yourself to remember the lines before you're supposed to be off book. Say you're given like the date April 9th, to be off book by, because your play is in like May, early May, and you're like, oh, you have to be off book by April 9th, and you've been looking at your book this entire time like this. I'm going to use the Hunger Games as my example. Like this, and you're going like, she doesn't talk. And you're like, every time you screw up a line, you're like, oh my god, wait, what was that? It's but you don't even like give your chance to screw up. You're not like reading like, hi, my. Okay, no. There's no words on this page either. Okay, here's one. I could just say I volunteer, but that's okay. Thank you for your consideration. But you're not even like looking up at the person you're talking to, like, thank you for your consideration. You're like, they say the line before it, which there is no line before it, and then you go like, thank you for your consideration. You're like reading through this book, like up to your face, like, oh my god, where are my lines? And that's really bad for you guys won't be able to hear me if I'm speaking into a book. Which is the other problem with that. And you're not even like looking down. Like you're not even like trying to avoid looking at the book. You're like dependent on the book for your lines. Like before you're expected to be off book, you want to be sort of off book. Like you want to be able to know that thank you for your consideration. Like you want to be able to know that that's the line before it. That's around the time that you're supposed to say thank you. Like, oh, thank you. Even if you don't remember the whole line and you have to look in your book, at least you're getting there. Like you're relying on yourself to remember it, and that's good. Um, there's things like that in life. Cutting being one of them. It's an addiction. Um, just as self-harmful as any other true addiction. Um, People don't trust themselves to be able to deal with it. Like they don't trust themselves to be able to deal with life without it. I know there's a lot of other things that play into it, because trust me, I know. But you need to trust yourself that you know better, and you know that you're better than that. Else you're never gonna get better. Same with any other type of addiction. We have not an immediate family, so that means like not my parents or my brothers or anything. My brothers are all younger. If they're doing drugs, there's a problem. One of them doesn't know what drugs are, because two of them don't know what drugs are. The other one does, but he's only 11, so let's hope he's not into that yet. Anyways, if we go by life by his book, I'll be the drug addict and he'll be bailing me out of jail. I'm not getting into that either. You need to. You can't just jump back into life like when you're getting through something like cutting, or getting through something like a drug addiction. Like you can't just expect yourself to be like, okay, I'm better. Like, okay, I went to rehab, or okay, I went to therapy. Like, okay, no, you're not better. It helps a lot, and I recommend it highly, but it doesn't mean you're better. There's still that mental dependency on something other than yourself or another healthy human being. I mean healthy in like the sense of the word that means they're not pushing you to do something that's wrong. like, you can have friends that do it if they're not pushing you. I would push them to seek help if they're addicted or if they're cutting a lot. I would recommend suggesting that they seek help. But I mean, if they're not saying like, "Oh, yo, you need to snort this line," like, it's okay. I don't see any problem with having those friends, just so long as I wouldn't hang out with them right away, because that puts a lot of strain on you. Just as if you have friends who smoke and or no, if you have friends and you're a recovering alcoholic and you've got friends that like to go out partying, I wouldn't hang around them quite so soon. Can't. Doesn't really do much. Kind of puts that temptation there, and one, you can't avoid it forever. The temptation's gonna be there, and I can say that honestly. Temptation will always be there. Like, here's a really less serious habit. I bite my nails like there's no tomorrow. You can actually see white though. That's really impressive. Last week they were a little longer. I started biting them again because I don't trust myself to be able to handle stress. So then I get stressed out and I start biting them, or I get nervous. So I've started to do other things. I've started fiddling with my hair, thus it's in ugly braids today. I hate pigtails and I hate pigtail braids. Did it anyways. You know, things like that. You need to believe in yourself that you can do it. And you need to avoid situations for a time being that will put you under stress or that will make you feel however it is. Like, here's a good example. A friend of mine, and not anyone from school, so I know a lot of my friends from school watch these videos. It's not a friend from school. Believe it or not, I might be a total nerd, but I actually have friends outside of school, so accomplishment, thank you. I have this friend who's kind of ironically part of a band, and he has some issues with cutting, and he felt kind of underappreciated because he was only not only, I mean, drummers are very important considering they're kind of the rhythm, kind of important, but he felt like since he was in the back, and it's kind of who he was, he always put himself down, and he felt like no one really appreciated him because no one noticed him, or like just in his own band that they didn't notice him, and he felt like shit, and it made it worse, and he actually spent time in the hospital for it, and I'm not telling the whole story and I'm not going to give out his name, but he spent time in the hospital for it, and they had, let's face it, they're not going to make it big. Where they come from too is a small part of Jersey, and it's just like, they don't come from this particular area, but they're still in a small part of New Jersey. So let's face it, probably not going to get anywhere, especially anytime soon, as sophomores in high school. Sophomores? They might be freshmen actually. But they had found like a little replacement through one of their other friends, and he came back, and they were okay with him coming back. They it's not like they play shows, so it was kind of just like a practice person, and you have to understand, this is my understanding of it through my one friend who's one of their guitarists, and through him. He came back and he found out, and quite frankly, I'm not going to say that they shouldn't have done it, because in all honesty they had to. I mean, I don't personally believe they're going to get anywhere, but who's to say they're not, and who's to say that not practicing is a good idea, because it's really not. I mean, like, you can't just not let it go unreplaced, even if it's only temporary, and he was not happy about that. He felt like shit, and he felt replaceable, and he went right back to it, and it was just like, you just got out of the hospital, why would you do that? And then he felt like everyone was looking down at him for it. They would make him wear either short sleeves, or he had to keep his his sleeves rolled up so they could see, but I mean, like, he could still hide it. And they just wanted to make sure he wasn't getting really bad again. And they found out he was doing it again and they got really upset. And now they're kind of helping him through it better. But it's like, you know, he shouldn't have done that to himself, in the sense that he shouldn't have just jumped right back into it and expected everything to be better, because it's not going to be better. You need to work for it, unfortunately. And I hate that, because I wish we could just get rid of problems and be like, oh, yay, problem gone. Like, it's not it's not how life works. So that's kind of my rant for the day. That's really all I have to say, is that it'll get better. You just have to work for it, no matter how hard that might be. Love you all.